Hello guys, a month ago I had this 2010 Mini Cooper Turbo, and I had some weird things going on with it, and I'm very excited to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about all this? So basically this car came in. This is my friend's car. He lives around 40 miles from my house. The codes that I had were, they had a pretty much misfire on all four of the cylinders, and also has the code for a cam position sensor. So here's the story. This car has I believe like 60,000 miles on it. A very well maintained vehicle. It's a daily commute. He drives his car, back and forth to work. Never had an issue with it. And he took the car for the oil change, and he was advised to change a air filter and spark plugs due to mileage. So he decided to do that by himself. So he got the spark plugs, I think from I'm not sure what part he didn't, some of the local stores, auto parts. So he got the spark plugs and air filter replaced, and shortly after, maybe 2 or 3 days later, he experienced some issues with the car. Mostly at around 3,000 RPM, the car would start to just jump like crazy. I mean, it would lose power. It's every time at 3,000 RPM. It's almost like some kind of rev limiter was just doing at the time. Like a PCM would activate the rev limiter or something. I don't know. So he came in, and I scoped for the misfire. I mean, for the codes, and he had all these misfires and cam position sensor. Now the cam position sensor, he replaced it once, and it got better for maybe a couple days, and then the same code came back. So he went to AutoZone, got another sensor, replaced it as well, and that didn't change anything. Still has the problems. Still had a camshaft position sensor code as well. So he came in, and I took the car for a test drive, and honestly, it was really tough. I couldn't really get any kind of direction. What really to do about it. I mean, I could see it right at 3,000 RPM. Car was just losing power. That's about it. And he kind of learned to drive it, just kind of milk it away. He was kind of avoiding the three grand. It was kind of going, as long as you drive below 3,000, it was okay. But anytime you go over 3 grand, it was just bogging down. So I pulled some data on it. I was looking injector pulse just to see if the computer is shutting down injectors at 3 grand. That was not the case. On this car, actually, I could pull up the data for injector pulse for each cylinder, and I could see they're all fine. I mean, there was that was not the case. So the injector pulse was okay. The fuel pressure was okay. Then we're trying to look around. And then by visual inspection, I noticed it that I'm gonna get you guys on this here. That what happened here? This boot here. Here's a turbo. Okay, and now when he during the replacement of his air filter, he had to move this boot to the side to get this unhooked, and I noticed a crack right in here. It's right, the turbo gets really hot, and this rubber boot basically turned into the plastic and just has this huge crack here. So and it seemed like when you rev it up at 3 grand, it would kind of torque the engine back a little bit, and this gap would get bigger and would start sucking the air. And right here is a mass airflow sensor. So what we did, we got the piece of aluminum foil, wrap it around here, and I got another clamp that clamped it right in here. So just to close that gap. And so we took it for a test drive, and it got a lot better. Like I would say 50% better. It was still a little misfire, but it was better. There was a significant improvement. Sorry. And I said, you know what? Let's just replace this part, and see what happens. So he ordered the part online, and then shortly after that he said it's same problem. It's really getting rough. He was like he's just going crazy, completely losing power even at the lower RPM at this point. So that was like 2 weeks later. He came back again, and pretty much the same code, the cam positioning sensor, the misfire everywhere. So the first thing I looked, and he ordered this, which I was like, oh my goodness, this is some I don't know, aftermarket boot and aftermarket, you know, air filter. So at this point I'm kind of lost. So I'm not sure if this could be my problem. So, and this is a thing, this is a non-turbo version, I believe, but this is, or I'm not sure, I can't see the turbo here. But anyway, this is what it kind of look like, you know, it's just there's a mass airflow sensor supposed to be here. But the air filter was different, so anyway, so now I can actually feel, I was going to take the car for a test drive again, but at this point I can feel the misfire all the time. And even at the idle I can feel it. And so I'm started piddling around trying to, you know, gather some data and see if I can isolate. Now, yeah, I'm getting the at this point I had my even the first time I would pull my misfire counter, and it was just jumping everywhere. So the second time when we got here, I had a misfire on cylinder number 2 and 3, which are these two. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's a 2 and 3. It was constant misfire. So then I would swap the coils. That didn't change anything. It's still the same. And I was like, well, let's see. This is a 3-wire coil. I'm gonna get you down, guys. So I was gonna check the my control on my coils just to make sure that I maybe due to I did actually also scope my cam position sensor first time and the second time, and I couldn't see anything wrong with it. There's a 0 to 5, I believe, volt, just a square wave sensor, and no problems there whatsoever. I couldn't see any anomaly. At that point I didn't know why computer is flagging the code for a cam sensor. The ground was good, the 5ref was good, and signal looked pretty good to me as well. So what I did, I said, well, let's just see the you know, if I can get the just a control wire, and there should be a square wave. I'm gonna back probe it and see if I'm losing the, you know, if I'm losing control on one of the coils. And to my surprise, after I back probe one of these coils, I actually got the primary ignition waveform. That's my first flag. I didn't understand. I don't even you know, I still don't get it, how I could get the primary ignition waveform on the 3-wire coil and plug system, where the, you know, the driver is inside the coil pack, and I was expecting to see just a square wave, just a signal control from the PCM, but actually I could see, I had a primary ignition waveform. So, and I said, well, since I have that, then I decided to get all 4 cylinders, you know, just back probe all of the coil and plugs and see if I can get primary ignition waveform on all 4 cylinders and see if there's something goofy going on. So here's the waveform, and something with my green channel, I'm not sure why my KB was so low. The green channel is okay, but I don't know, it was kind of weird. I still don't understand why. Something was going on with the green channel. But anyway, I got attenuators on all of them, so the green channel was, I don't know. Anyway, so my blue channel is actually coil number 4. Okay, so that would be this one here. So this coil number 4, coil and plug right there. And I'm sorry guys, yeah, you see that. Okay, so and now I'm starting looking at these waveforms, and all of a sudden I see this anomaly here, right there, and right there I had misfire, but that was on a coil number 4, and I constantly having the misfire counter on 2 and 3, and this whole time actually I had a single cylinder misfire, but the misfire counter was completely screwed up on this car. And so So you can see all other are okay, and actually let me go back here. Right there is my Misfire. So if we measure the burn time on this cylinder, on this coil and plug, it's around 2 milliseconds, 2.7 milliseconds, and here you can see it. It's around 1.4 milliseconds. So clearly that was my misfire, and so I had a misfire here, and see here, this is normal, so it's pretty much the same. So it was intermittent, so 2.6, so that's normal. So and that was, now I swapped my coils and still the same, and so I'm still kind of confused. What am I seeing here? The spark plugs are brand new, and I don't suspect spark plugs at all to be an issue. So and then I decided to get my at this point I actually disconnect all other coils, because I knew that, you know, my number 4 is the problem, and so this is kind of cool. So there's something else here that I missed it the first time, and as you can see, guys, right in here, there's something's going on here, and this is my camshaft position sensor, and actually this is 0 to 12 volts. I'm sorry, I was thinking it's a 5 volts. It's a battery voltage, system voltage, 13.5. So my power is fine on it. My ground was okay. But all of a sudden I see this, and let's go back. And I missed this first time when I looked at the position sensor, because my time base was too short, and put a little filter on it. So with the picoscope, it's very nice, you know, not to use. You don't want to use filter. You can always filter your signal once you stop and you go back, so you don't lose any kind of you know, anomalies or something like that. So when I looked this the first time, and when I you know, I didn't have anything else, any other channel hooked up to it. I'm looking at the camshaft position sensor, and I'm asking myself, is there a problem with my reluctor wheel? Why am I losing this signal here? And that's why maybe I'm losing the my you know, I'm having a problem with my coil and plug, with my ignition problem, and with the ignition system. So there's one here, and there's one here, and then there's one here and here and here. Now this is the same frequency. This is the idling, so that's not the same repetition. The frequency is different. You know, I don't see the same pattern on this signal. And there's here as well. But my ground is fine. I'm not losing anything on the ground. There's a 70 millivolts. The ground is fine, and you know, here's clearly we can see right in here that I'm you know, I'm having this loss of the, it's almost like a 13, like a half a volt is gone off the tip of this signal. So and so anyway, and the 4 they got here, and I can see like a 1, 2, 3. So there's absolutely no repetition that would indicate that there's something wrong with the reluctor wheel, or maybe a gap on the sensor or something, you know, because this is like the second sensor that he replaced it, and it still had a code on it. So so next well, let's get the my crankshaft sensor, and here's the crank, and now that the frequency, it's, you know, of course different, but you can see here on the crankshaft sensor also that there's a little deviation as well. that kind of the same that follows the cam position sensor. Now then I got my mass airflow sensor, and of course the frequency is even more, you can really see, but if we put a little filter on a MAF, and then we can see clearly that every time this happens on a cam position sensor, it happens on the mass airflow sensor as well. So let me just go here real quick and show you guys. So here is the mass airflow sensor is here, camshaft position sensor is right in here, and the crankshaft sensor, actually I got the signal from the power control module, it's here, but the problem with this is, you know, all the wires are like orange, black and white, and you have to count all the pins, and it was a nightmare to find a wire. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, all the coils are white. I mean, it's just really stupid. I mean, it was really like injectors, actually not coils, but injectors were like a control wires all white. So I was, you know, anyway, so I finally found the you know, wire on this power control module. That's where I got my signal from for crankshaft sensor, and so that's what I've seen here. And then I said, well, let's go ahead and pull up my my ignition waveform, so my primary ignition waveform, and here that is. And now we can see right in here that every time, it's just gonna, so there's when they'll be losing that signal a little bit. And see, go back just a little bit. So this is my cam. This is mass airflow sensor. This is a crankshaft sensor, and this is where, and that's, I'm gonna take the filter out of the MAF, and you can see where every time when this happens on my coil number 4, you know, I've got all these crazy things happening with my sensors. But the picoscope is such a powerful scope, you can actually, you know, get all this. But here's my my ignition, the red trace, the green trace is my mass airflow sensor, cam position, the crank position sensor. The cam is, you know, it's just to zoom out. You don't see those deviations anymore. But this was the problem, and but really kind of weird. And what was going on, you know, when this happens, you know, and I actually did. I got my virus and got the mass airflow sensor frequency, and every time this happens, the frequency would change like a 200 hertz. I don't remember what was it. I think it was like a 2000 hertz frequency at the idle, and every time this happens, you know, it would jump to like 2200 or something like that. But it would change the frequency on the mass airflow sensor, and then, you know, everything else kind of get out of whack. But now at this point, I really, you know, what is the cause of this? You know, spark plugs are new. Is it injector? But it just didn't look like, you know, like a problem on injectors. And you know, I got my coil already swapped. I'm still having the same issue. But long story short, it was a faulty spark plug. And after I just swapped the spark plug to number 3 cylinder, and it went back to the cylinder number 3. So, but you know, I never had anything like this happen before. I have never seen anything like it. So really kind of interesting how this could affect the signal on the and now that, again, what I said the first time, when the first day when he came in and I scoped my cam position sensor, my time base at this time is like a 4 seconds across the screen. I had it for my time base was too short, and I couldn't see this, and I missed it big time. And but that was it. So I'm not sure. I mean, still a little confused. How could, and now when you look at the engine, you know, here's the cylinder number 4 right in here. This is my cam position sensor. This is a MEF sensor, and this noise, that was affecting the cam position sensor. I'm not sure it's the proximity to the the sensor or not, but I'm not sure. So anyway, that's what the issue. And after we got another spark plug, car is fine. It's been a month now, and it's now no codes came back other than actually has an intermittent long crank at this point. I didn't have a chance to figure that out yet. The fuel pressure seems to be okay. I'm not sure what's causing the long crank, but it did not have a that cam position sensor code is gone, and again, runs okay. So I'm really excited to hear from you guys to see what could cause, why would spark plug cause all this. I don't understand that. So but it is kind of crazy. I mean, I've never anything, let's see if I can put a little filter on this one. Let's see, the crankshaft sensor, and you can, there's a crankshaft sensor, and I can just put a little bit, like one cursor over. You can see how that loses the no, it's normal, everything's fine, and then it will, once it gets to the misfire, it will, right there, it would affect the crankshaft sensor as well, but not as much as cam. You can see that right there. So, and you can see this is the moment when it happens right there. This is my MAF, and you can see this spike. So anyway, that's what I had, and I'm very excited for you guys to give me some input and some let's see. Well, anyway, that was it. Again, after we replaced the spark plug, everything's fine. This code didn't come back anymore. The Misfire didn't come back. But again, this was really tough for the reason being that my misfire counter was completely off. I was having a single misfire on a cylinder number 4, and constantly I was on my misfire counter was a 2 and 3. It was completely off. I don't understand why. Not a single time I had a misfire on number 4 on the scan tool at all. And having a primary ignition waveform on a 3-wire coil and plug, that was a big surprise to me as well. So, but this is the primary coil, primary ignition waveform. So I don't know. This is what I have this time. I'm really excited for you guys to give me some input on this. What do you guys think about this? Why I was doing all this? But that's it. Alright guys, I appreciate you all watching, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.